Hello, so in this video we're going to talk about first defining your essay questions and also tackling a top question because that's a little bit different. First of all, you can notice that I've put essay questions, and this is because mainly, especially for the extended study project or extended essay, you will see that your question will begin as something and will change to various versions that will go into that will evolve throughout the process. So it's very important that you try to first of all frame your better question, and you will see that for your extended essay actually this will evolve into version 1, version 2, version 3, and sometimes it will have nothing to do at all with what you had in the first place, but sometimes it's just incremental changes. Okay, in the keyword column there you can put about all the things that you think you would put in a Google search, so any aspects that you would think that would be interesting or relevant to the topic that you're doing. So for example, this works, obviously this document you can use for your IAs, you can use for talk, you can use it for extended essays, but the process is entirely the same. The only difference is that the format is going to have, so you need to check what is what there. So once you have got your extended study question, or you think you have one, then you can think about all the things that could be linked to this. I've written them down, you can add some further things, and the next step after this is that you need to start considering investigating. But before you do that, then you've got to know about two things. The first thing is that in the old-fashioned days, you would find a source, a book or something. You would think about the keywords that were associated with this, and then you would find or generate the reference and then write a note about why you found it interesting. It's a good read because we're talking about l'Académie Française. There you go. So that's not very effective because it's not going to help you generate your bibliography. So my top tip is to try to use, you can definitely use this, but that's why I call the going commando, because actually it's a little bit like trying to do a little bit of DIY yourself. It's much more easier to actually use a library, online library. So what I recommend for you is to go onto online library like MyBib, and if you haven't got that, it's very simple. If your school like mine is using Google, then you can just sign up with your Google account, and with your Google account you should create something very easily. You are now in, and all you've got to do is to make sure that you've got two things, and this is where it's kind of important you do that right from the beginning when you start looking at things. So my top tip there would be to create a folder, talk essay for example, and I would make a list of things to read and a list of things that I have read. Why is that? It's very simple, because if I want to keep track and to quote the things I'm going to mention, I need to keep a record of what I'm reading. So when I refer to them in my writing, I can say this is what I have come across, and I can justify this from things. So for example, if I type gender bias in French and I find a lovely article which it looks quite interesting, so I can have a quick look. If I click on this link, you can also have, if you click on the other link, you could probably have the PDF. I would strongly suggest that you get that because then it allows you to read, and usually you've got the abstract at the top that you can quickly read to see if it's relevant to you. This one looks very relevant to me, so what I can do is I can now that I've created my account on mybib.com, I can just open the mybib.com extension that I've downloaded on my Chrome, and I can ask me some questions if you're not entirely sure how to add the Chrome extension, I think you just need to go on, in IB Ep, you just have to go somewhere here, add-ons, Chrome extension, sorry, and then you should be in a good, happy place. So we are in ResearchGate now, which is a research portal. You can see that when I clicked on here, it's proposed to me what the citation is, so I could copy this and paste it manually within my reference here, but that would force me to do a library manually after that. Don't really want that, so I'm going to add it, and then I'm going to save it to my project, and my project is talk essay to read, and I was going to add it. I think it's relevant, so it's something that I'm going to read. I now got two items that I need to read, and I can spend 30-40 minutes listing in here and clipping bits and bobs on the web that I find relevant to my research into my bib, basically. And then I can spend time, and another time, maybe when I've got a couple of hours, I can just go through and start reading those articles and try to pick whether they are really interesting, they can use some bits of this or not. So going back to my document, basically I have already started researching, and I'm already considering reading more through clipping things from the web. Feel free to do this. So once you have a mybib.com library and you have looked at your resources online, then you can, and you've read them, you can start thinking about whether you need to update your research question. Maybe you will realize that you will need to change stuff. Things will get different, okay? So you can go back to this document at the top and write version 1 or version 2 or version 3 of your question for your extended essay. If it's a talk question, you're not going to change anything, obviously, because you can't change the question, but you will probably change your different areas of knowledge, your real life situation, and all those. Okay, so that was essentially, therefore, about part 1 and part 2 of section 1 and section 2. What we're going to talk about in the next video is about how you start writing.